Hi, my name is Jennifer Ziegler, and I'm so honored to be part of the Spirit of Texas program for the 2012-2013 school year. I wanted to tell you a little bit more about myself, about how I got started as a writer, a little bit about my writing process, and some insider information into my book, How Not to Be Popular. That's a little difficult to answer because I feel as if I've always been writing. But I think it basically started when I was born. I was born into a family of storytellers. We love to talk. We love to tell stories, and we would sit around the dinner table when I was growing up and tell stories about our day, about things that happened. And yeah, we might exaggerate a little bit to make it funnier, more exciting. And also, I shared a room with my sister Amanda from the day she was born. She's 3 years younger than me, until the day that I left for college. So in a way, I had sort of a trapped audience, a test audience, if you will. And so when we were growing up, I would make up stories and tell them to her at night when we were supposed to be sleeping and try and make her laugh. And I made up really silly stories, like there was one about the neighbor's cat. I told her that the neighbor's cat was a spy. And I made up a story about a little baby who formed a rock band. Just anything to get her to laugh. And soon after that, after a while, and probably when there was no one around to tell my stories to, I discovered that I liked writing them down. In fact, I liked it better because then I could work them and rework them, and I could find the perfect words and make it just right, get it just funny enough, just exciting enough. So I would write all the time when I was bored, and I would fill up spiral notebooks like this with my thoughts, anything that popped into my head. I would write short stories, essays. I had a long argument about who was the cutest member of Duran Duran. I would try and do cartoons. I attempted to write a couple songs. I was really not good at that. And I started several books, but at that point, I never finished any of them. And I really enjoyed it. This was my escape when I was bored. At this point, I never really considered being a writer. I was reading a lot, and that was also really great practice because I was exposing myself to all kinds of stories, be they mysteries or sci-fi and fantasy with their incredible worlds. I loved realistic fiction like Judy Blume and Paula Danziger. And so I was reading a lot, and I was reading these wonderful authors, but it never occurred to me that I could actually become an author myself. And it was just something I did for fun. But looking back now, what I was doing was finding my voice as a writer. I was figuring out how I write and my comfort zone and what I like to write about. And that was very, very valuable. So I studied journalism, and for a while I was writing articles for newspapers and magazines, and then I became a teacher, and I taught English language arts to 8th graders, and I loved that job. But then eventually I got an offer to write a paperback novel for teenagers, and the rest is history. I ended up doing that full time, and that's how I became Jennifer Ziegler author. So how do I write? Well, if you count the paperback novels that I did, and those were under other assumed names, I've written over 20 books now. And so I do have a process that I use, and it works for me. And so I think everyone needs to find their own process. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? And then they can figure out how to use their strengths, how to get around their weaknesses, and finish their writing projects. For me, with a book, it's not hard to find ideas. I get ideas all the time. I never get ideas when I'm actually sitting in front of the computer hoping to think of an idea. I usually get an idea when I'm at the grocery store or stuck in traffic. But usually what comes to me first are characters. I hear a character. I see a character and they seem very real to me. And then I kind of have to hang out with this character for a while and figure out his story or her story. Now, because characters and relationships and emotions, since that part comes easier to me, what would happen if I just let myself start writing is I would just hang out with these characters and have a lot of funny scenes where we hang out and have fun. I would just have them do this, and then they would do this, and this would be funny, and there would really be no story that connects them. So what I do after I figure out my character and what he or she needs to learn is I make myself outline the plot, because the structure of the story is what does not come easy to me. Now, I never used to outline when I was in school. When we would write a paper and our teachers would say, do an outline, a rough draft, and a final draft, I would do a rough draft, then I would rewrite it really neatly. That was my final draft. And then I would do the outline. I used to not see the point of it. I thought it was just my teacher being mean. But now I am the outline cheerleader because it has really helped me so much. So even though it's not my favorite part, I make myself outline and I figure out the beginning of the story and then what the character's going to do. They're going to make a decision, and then that's going to cause something to happen. And then they're going to have to make another decision, etc. And so every scene moves the story along. Then I can sit down and write. So that's the next part after I outline. I have a little map to follow. As I sit down to write and write and write. And this is the most fun. But in some ways it can be very hard because some days I will write thousands of words and you almost can't stop me. And then some days I will write dozens of words and maybe have to delete almost all of them. So over the years I've learned tricks to help me keep going and push past those hard times, whether it's, with coffee, by doing yoga, by calling up friends and asking them lots of strange questions to help me figure things out, maybe taking walks around the neighborhood, mumbling to myself, whatever works. And then I figure out how to solve my problem, push past it, and just keep writing until I hit the end. But after I hit the end, I'm not finished. I have to rewrite. And this is very difficult. And I know that some of you find it difficult too, because you work so hard finishing your first draft. You want to be done. You want to think it's perfect. But it never is. So you have to get feedback, maybe from an editor, from someone else, or just leave it alone for a little while, come back, look at it with fresh eyes, and find the mistakes. And by mistakes, I don't necessarily mean where commas go. I mean places where it could be better, where people can read it and really see what's happening in their head, versus people can read it and not really see it. So I make myself revise, and this is hard to make myself do, but after I'm done, I am always glad I did it. And then I have a finished draft. And usually it takes more than one revision. I send it to my editor, she sends it back, I revise again, I send it to her, it comes back, I revise again, but eventually I am done, and eventually it ends up a finished book. Like I said, when I get my ideas, usually I see the character first, and that's what happened here. I saw Maggie, the main character, in my head, and it was very vivid. It was a lot like having a movie trailer in your head. And I saw a vision of her. I didn't know her name yet, but I saw her walking to her high school, and she's crossing the front lawn, and she's wearing a very unusual outfit. I saw her in sort of a poofy Southern Belle almost type dress, and I think she was wearing them with army boots and then a really silly hat. And of course, people are nudging each other and whispering and pointing and laughing. And she's seeing everybody do this, and she's happy about it. And I thought, why is she happy? So then I had to sort of hang out with this character, and I realized her story. I realized that she came from a family that moved around a lot, and she was tired of it. She was tired of having to start over every time they moved to a new place and find new friends and find new hangouts and get settled out of school, only to have to say goodbye to these friends a few months later. So she has decided that she's done with that, and she's going to do everything wrong on purpose. She's going to do the exact opposite of what she would have done if she had wanted to be successful. So every day is going to be a bad hair day. She's going to wear the wrong things, say the wrong things. Then nobody would want to be her friend. And then when it's time to move, it'll be a cinch because there'll be no one to say goodbye to. And that may not be how it works out for her. I will let you read the book and find out. But so I got this image of her, and I had a sense of who she was and her personality. And then I figured out the rest of it, filled in what her family was like, what kind of a life she had had, and what she was struggling with. And once I realized what she was struggling with, I realized the plot. And this fascinated me, how not to be popular, because really, I was not super popular in high school. And what makes someone popular? If you want to be popular, is it something you're born with? Or can you follow a series of steps and do certain things and wear certain things and become popular? And what about the opposite of that? If you are born charismatic, if you're the kind of person that people love to hang around, can you turn that off? Can you wear the wrong clothes and be weird and be unpopular? Is it that simple? Or if you do everything wrong, but you do it with confidence, will you still be popular? These are all questions that went through my mind as I was figuring out the story. And I don't like stories that come to a conclusion and have a message for the reader. I didn't like to read books like that, and I don't think you do either. So I just wanted to figure out what would happen to her. And then if the readers can learn something from it, great. But I just wanted to find out what would happen to Maggie. I just wanted to ask these questions. And I did a lot of things as an author to sort of explore the oxymorons of the situation, the paradox of it, you know, because being a teenager is kind of full of that. You want to be out on your own, but you're not really ready for it. So she thinks she doesn't want friends, and yet she does. There's this sort of push-pull struggle the whole time she's going through the novel and figuring things out, which I think is true for all of us at that age. And so I start every chapter with an oxymoron. There's other little clues in there if you look close enough that have to do with opposites being true, and so maybe you'll find those. But I really had a great time writing the novel. I loved the characters. I loved Maggie. I loved Penny. I had a great time writing the scenes with the parents. And it means a lot to me. And then to find out that it is a Spirit of Texas book, well, that's a wonderful thing. And I really hope that you enjoy it, and that maybe it teaches you some things, or at least makes you laugh. So thank you so much for watching my video, for possibly reading my book, and for taking the time to expose yourself to some great reads. I hope that you keep on writing, keep on reading, and I hope that you are always yourself. Thank you.